In the introductory segment to variable annuities, you learned that you can attach enhanced benefits, both living benefits and death benefits, to variable annuities. What I want to start with right now is just explaining what a bare bones death benefit will do for your client. Let's take an example, and I'm going to stick with $100,000 like I've been doing here so far. Someone invests $100,000 in a variable annuity, and all they're going to have in this example is the standard return of premium death benefit. This benefit can simply be illustrated like this. $100,000 initial investment, assuming no withdrawals come out of the account, and that's very important, assuming no withdrawals come out of the account, that $100,000 is guaranteed for the beneficiaries no matter what the underlying performance of the investments are. So, for example, if we fast forward down the road 10 years, that client invested $100,000, we have a great start to the account, and then all of a sudden the market goes down and the market starts recovering a little bit, and 10 years down the road there's $80,000 in the account. That's a very common situation we ran into over the last 10 years because 2006 and 2007 were very good years. 2008, 2009, the market crashed. If someone invested $100,000 and down the road has $80,000 and this person passes away, the death benefit, as illustrated here, is still going to be $100,000. So the insurance company writes the beneficiaries a check for $100,000 even though there's $80,000 in the account. So notice, the insurance company is not protecting the principal of the account. The principal varies. It fluctuates. It's a variable annuity. There could be $120,000 in the account. There could be $60,000 in the account at any moment in time. All the insurance company is doing is guaranteeing that at least this amount will be passed on to the beneficiaries. If the client passes away when the account is worth more, if they pass away up here, then they'll get the account value. If they pass away down here, they'll get the $100,000. To sum it all up, the easiest way to remember it is the beneficiaries will receive the higher of the account value or the death benefit when you're using a standard death benefit. Account value or death benefit, assuming there's no withdrawals from the account. I'm going to talk about withdrawals here a little bit later, but for now, just understand basic death benefit. The higher of the account value or the death benefit when the client passes away. Now, to take it a step further, I want to talk about enhanced living benefits. So that first section you just saw was death benefits. Now let's talk about living benefits. I'm going to use the same general graph, and we're still going to start with $100,000. With living benefits, there are a couple components that you need to be familiar with. You need to be familiar with the terminology. Most living benefits will offer some sort of roll-up, which is often described in the form of a percentage. And there'll also be some sort of ratchet. Now, not every living benefit's going to have one or the other. Not every living benefit's going to have both. But in general, you're going to run into this terminology a lot when dealing with living benefits. So the standard death benefit guaranteed return of the original premium to the beneficiaries, assuming no withdrawals. In order for the client to benefit from a death benefit, they have to pass away, which really doesn't benefit them at all. It's a death benefit. Living benefits, hence the name, are designed to benefit the client while they're alive, while they're living. Living benefits are used to guarantee some sort of income stream from an investment. that income stream can either be planned to begin right away or planned to begin down the road. I'm not going to get into any specific products in this video because you'll learn in this industry variable annuity products change all the time. But rather what I'm going to do is speak in generalities about roll-ups and ratchets and in general how they work. But please understand that every single annuity carrier structures their roll-ups and their ratchets differently. Some will roll up compound interest, some will roll up simple interest. Some ratchets happen every day, some every month, some once a year. Some happen every 3 years and then look back to the highest previous year. Some of them get pretty complicated. For now, I just want you to understand the basic premise, and we will utilize our wholesalers and my in-person training to talk about the specific products that we're using at any given period of time. With that said, let's jump to talking about what a roll-up is. So remember, it's a variable annuity. Variable annuities are never principal guaranteed. We're using this to create an income guarantee. With a roll-up, for example, let's assume a 5% roll-up on the money. That's a very common roll-up amount. Let's assume that a client lets their money roll up at 5% for 10 years. Now I've got my calculator here. So a client invests $100,000, earns 5% compounded for 10 years. The future value of this roll-up 10 years down the road, round numbers, is $163,000. Now, different companies refer to this amount with a different vocabulary. Some refer to this as a protected withdrawal rate. Some refer to this as an income base. There's all sorts of different ways to refer to that number, but generally it means the same thing. Now, the underlying investments are, of course, invested in the different allocation that you chose. So some of those mutual funds might go up, some might go down, depends what's going on in the markets. Let's assume, for example, for sake of this illustration, that the investments do something like this. They go up, but it's a choppy ride, and over that 10-year period, you receive some very modest growth from those investments. In this example, let's say that the $100,000 turns into $130,000. Now notice how the roll-up is completely independent of the account value. That's the key. The roll-up keeps compounding whether the investments are going up or going down. Now let's say that this particular product offers a 5% income stream whenever the client wants to begin taking income. That income stream is based on the higher of the account value or the roll-up base. That's really, really important. So think about that. The insurance company is giving an income stream on a 5% growth trajectory, even if the account doesn't grow at 5%. That's key terminology. If the account doesn't grow by 5%, the client gets to take income as if it did. I'll say that again, that's really important. If the account doesn't grow at 5%, the client gets to take income as if it did. So let's say here we are 10 years later, and keep in mind, I only use 10 years as an example. The client doesn't have to wait 10 years. $163,000, a 5% income stream, is roughly $8,144 per year. So in this example, even though the client only has $130,000 in the account, their income is based off of $163,000. The annuity company is guaranteeing the income power of the money, and they're actually guaranteeing that the income power of the money will grow over time. You can see how this can be a very powerful planning tool. If someone loses a job at age 55, but they're still going to work till, let's say, 65 or 66 when Social Security kicks in, you can see how powerful it is to drop a lump sum of money, maybe a portion of an old 401k, into this product and know with certainty that they're going to be able to receive, worst case scenario, a certain level of income from the money, even if the account doesn't perform. Now, at the end of the day, you want the account to grow by much more than 5%. But what the annuity company is doing is they're saying even if it doesn't grow, you get to take income as if it did. So you can see how powerful this can be. Now let me take it a step further. I want to talk about a ratchet. What a lot of companies will do is they will offer a roll-up in conjunction with some sort of ratchet. Think of a ratchet like a high water mark, like the waves coming up on a beach, the highest level those waves ever reach. You can lock that in. You can ratchet that in. You step that up. You'll hear phrases like step-ups and ratchets and lock-ins. They're all referring to basically the same thing. I'm going to draw this example with a little more exaggeration to show you how this works. So let's say that the account starts out going down, so I can illustrate this. It goes down, then it goes up, then it comes back down. So again, I'm exaggerating this on purpose. The roll-up with most companies generally starts from day one. So here I'm going to illustrate the 5% roll-up. Let's assume that it has an annual ratchet. So if this person opened up their account, I'm going to draw it up here. Let's say they opened their account on April 4th, 2014. Every April 4th is referred to as their contract anniversary. So if you have an annual ratchet that works in conjunction with your roll-up, then every April 4th, the insurance company is going to take a snapshot of your account value and lock that value in, even if the market goes down. And in a lot of cases, the new 5%, or I should say, the new ratchet, is what the 5% is going to grow off of. So in this example, the account spikes up in these periods. And let's assume that this point right here happens to be their annual anniversary. Well, the 5% is now going to grow off of that. So think about that. The original trajectory would have had their 5% growth end up somewhere down here. But with the power of a ratchet locking in that high water mark and growing 5% off of that, whatever this value is what their income stream is going to be based on down the road. So the nice thing about using these enhanced benefits is it gives you a worst case scenario to plan for, because if a high water mark is never reached, or if the account never gets above the 5%, you know you've always got the 5% number working for you. But if you capture a high water mark, it can be even better. Now, keep in mind that the more riders, the more enhancements that are added to a product, the higher the internal cost. There are extra layers of insurance when you start talking about ratchets and roll-ups and how much income can be taken. You have to weigh the cost of the product with the benefit the clients are going to get. But I think you'd agree, especially with all the volatility we've been seeing in the last 10 to 15 years, and I think volatility will be here to stay for a long time. These types of products that offer benefits that are this powerful can be a huge, huge advantage to your clients. There's certainly a place for products like this in the portfolio. These guarantees are very, very powerful. Now, I'm going to talk briefly here about enhanced death benefits. Now that you've seen enhanced living benefits, enhanced death benefits are very, very, very similar. I don't even need to redraw the graph. So you saw previously that basic death benefits are just return of premium. Enhanced death benefits are a little more rare in the industry than the living benefits. All annuity companies basically have living benefits. Enhanced death benefits work the same way. There's a roll-up, there's a ratchet, but instead of protecting an income base, what you're building for your client is a protected death benefit. So where a standard death benefit is simply drawn like this, as you saw in the previous segment, a standard death benefit is just the original amount. Enhanced death benefits can have a roll-up and a ratchet, and whatever these numbers become are simply the death benefits for down the road. Now, a key important thing to understand, a very key important thing to understand, is how withdrawals can affect these benefits. That's very, very important. Because if you misuse client withdrawals, it can greatly negatively impact the benefit that you're trying to accumulate for them. It's very important that you ask your wholesalers if withdrawals from the portfolio, if withdrawals from the annuity are going to affect the benefit base pro rata or dollar for dollar. So I'm going to write pro rata or dollar for dollar. Going back to a graph to illustrate this concept, let's say, for example, that you're in a situation where a client invested $100,000, and we're just going to assume a simple 5% roll-up. We're also going to assume that the account went down in value. Let's say the roll-up is worth $150,000, but let's say the account value is worth $80,000. Now, let's also assume that this annuity company allows the client to withdraw 5% income for life off of this $150,000 number. 5% of $150,000, they're allowed $7,500 per year of income. Staying within that $7,500 threshold keeps the $150,000 income base intact. But if a client takes out more than $7,500, then this benefit base will be reduced either pro rata or dollar for dollar. Dollar for dollar is easy to explain. Let's say a client runs into some sort of emergency in a certain year, and instead of $7,500, instead takes out $17,500. So they take out $10,000 of excess withdrawals above and beyond what they were guaranteed. Dollar for dollar just simply means that if a client, in this case, takes out $10,000 of extra money, the benefit base will be reduced by $10,000, dollar for dollar. So next year, when the contract anniversary renews, the benefit base will be $140,000, and the 5% is now based off of the $140,000. Pro rata works much differently. With pro rata, if the client takes out $17,500, the first thing the insurance company does is they look at the account value. $10,000 is 13% of $80,000. So the extra $10,000 is 13% of the account value. That means the benefit base is going to fall by 13% as well. So if we have a $150,000 benefit base times 13%, that's $19,500 of reduction to the withdrawal base. So the client took out $10,000 and reduced their benefit base by $19,500. Pro rata is, of course, a fancy way of saying proportional. So if the client takes out 13% worth of excess withdrawals, proportionally, the same thing is going to happen to the benefit base. It's going to reduce it by 13%. You can see how excess withdrawals greatly impact the benefit base when working with a pro rata contract. So it's very important when you have pro rata contracts, and you will certainly use them. Oftentimes pro rata contracts have very good benefits, but you can see if you break the benefit, it can really hurt the client. So when you use pro rata investments, you want to make sure that a client has other liquidity sources to tap into when extra income or extra money is needed above and beyond their guaranteed income stream. We'll talk about setting those different buckets up a little bit later in other segments, but for now, just understand pro rata versus dollar for dollar. So in this segment, we learned about all sorts of things. We learned about death benefits, living benefits, enhanced death benefits. We talked a little bit about fees and surrender charges and mortality and expense ratios. We talked about roll-ups and ratchets and pro rata, dollar for dollar. It's a lot of information. You will use variable annuities a lot in this business. The ability to apply guarantees to a client situation is extremely powerful. Easily 40 to 50% of your book of business will be products like this, so it's very important that you're well schooled and well versed in the details of these products. Take the time to engage your wholesalers. Take the time to talk to experienced financial advisors in this office who are very familiar with these products. There's a lot of details to understand, but once you understand them, they are very, very powerful tools. Watch this video a few times, absorb the information, and let us know if you've got any questions.